What are your recommendations for managing spending during the holiday season?
That is a big one. And so I want to start off by telling everyone listening that we don't like everybody. If for some reason the holidays makes us feel, the holidays feel like I need to give a gift to everybody. You don't. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to sit down and really make a list. Make a list of your non-negotiables. Who are the people that really matter to you? Who are the people that you really want to give a gift? Then you're going to do a budget, the big B, right? You're going to sit down, you're going to calculate your income. How much money is coming in every month? How much money is going out every month. And whatever is left over, I like to call that your glorious gap. Whatever is left over, that's how much money you want to use as your stopgap. So that if I have $500 at the end of the month to spend, that is how much I'm spending for the holidays. I'm not spending 501 and I'm definitely not spending thousands. And so now I have this list and I have the income that I know, okay, I've paid off my bills. I'm not going to go into debt. I have $500. So now I can decide how much I want to spend on each gift and create a strategy and become a lot more creative than just, swipe, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that. Now I have a plan. And when we do this and we go within this plan, when January comes, we haven't overspent, we're not in debt, we're not paying off credit card bills, and we still have enjoyed our holidays within our means.
Mm, I love that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I only can imagine, like you said, $501 if you don't.
Yeah, not even the $1.
Yeah, because the thing about budgeting is it set these boundaries for you. And like you said, when January roll around, you're not, thousands of dollars in debt because you
Right.
became friendly in December.
Exactly. Like I don't even talk to you for the entire year. Why am I buying you something? It just happens. I know it's natural, but it's just like stick to the list, right? You can send a nice farewell hello on the internet, like Merry, Happy Holidays. But when it comes to our gifting, we want to stick to that budget.
Yes, for sure. No, I love it. What are some key tips for dating financially responsibly?
That is that's a loaded question. I think so. I know it's very taboo still, and we're trying to break that taboo to discuss money. And I'm not telling you to come out the bat on your first date to say, what does your 401k portfolio look like? We're not doing that. But I do think early on, especially when you're going into the holidays with someone for the first time, I think it's really important to discuss the basics of money, right? Because at some point, that is going to impact you, whether you decide to become official, whether you have to move in, whether you have to get married, whatever it is. So you want to really start having those conversations and talk about, like I said with the list, your non-negotiables. I like to say, what are your value spends? That's how I open up the conversation because it lets me understand what really matters to you. And then things that we're just like, we don't really need to spend money on that. So if I really, really, really love going out to eat, and that's not something you really enjoy, then we could have conversations on how we're going to go, meet in the middle and what is that expense going to look like together. Because your partner might say, I don't like going out to eat, I'm not going to spend this. And it's like, okay, well, this is going to be something I add to the byline of my budget that when we do go out, I'm going to pay this tab. Or when we go do something that you like, perhaps you'll pay this tab, or maybe we'll be splitting certain things. But you need to have those conversations, as uncomfortable as they may seem, because they make it down the line a lot easier when the big things come, right? Where you have to buy appliances together, or you have to buy a mattress together, or you're merging your bank accounts together. Those conversations are a lot harder than talking about, well, what are your value spends and what do we want to make sure we're budgeting in for dates or budgeting on certain things. So have the conversations now so that in the future it's a lot easier. And because sometimes you're not financially compatible. If you are a big budgeter and thrifty and spending and you have specific ideals and goals about money and someone is just complete opposite, that's something you want to know early on, right? Where you could say, okay, I guess it's not that bad. Or you could say, no, that's a red flag for me. I actually don't want to proceed any further. But if you don't have the conversation, you'll never know.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think that would you write someone off if you're not compatible financially? Like, do you just end the relationship or like you're dating, right? And you're like,
Right.
no, I don't think this will work. Is that a legitimate reason to sever ties with someone?
I really like this question. And I think that question is going to be different or have a different answer at the different stages in life you are. Because at 21, I'm like, I don't care. At 21, I was like, hey, we're not financially compatible. We're not, it's fine, like no big deal. But now, where I'm a homeowner and I'm trying to retire in a certain amount of time, or, if we're discussing if we want to have kids, we need to be on a similar path or heading in the same direction if we're going to be interweaving our lives together in this way, because you get married, you have kids, your money's interwoven. It doesn't matter if you have separate accounts, your money is one because you have a child together. So I think if you're 20 years old and they're not financially compatible, you might be a little more like, no big deal. But as older as you get, it might be something that's a lot more important to you, something that is a deal breaker for you. So I think it's different for different people. I think for myself at this current stage in life, I would not. If someone's completely worked on completely different wavelengths, I don't know if I'd be able to really move forward and say like, we're making a different salary. I don't think that's a deal breaker. I know that's is a deal breaker. I think if
Do you think there's pressure on millennials to spend more on dating to make a good impression? And how can they navigate this?
yes, 100% yes, I think millennials, because we were the generation that first really was on and those apps, it just became a big. So if I know this person that I spent enough to impress them or show them a good time, but I feel like that's also what's kind of keeping us stuck in this, but I'm going to spend all my money, right? Am I compatible or have a conversation, or certainly don't personally. But if we don't have those conversations, we're simply just going off what's expected of us from podcasts or from for the both of us. So I definitely think millennials, unfortunately, we are the guinea pigs for everything. Body on a first date in the right way.
Yeah, that's so much to break down, but uh I want to uh take a quick break for a second, and I want to discuss my wife and I, we created an intimacy card deck specifically for relationships, dating, no matter which phase you are in. This is questions that are tough to ask, and husband and wife coming together and
Yeah.
building this intimacy card deck. So it's great for date nights as well as in a relationship, even if you're married. So, Melissa, I want to ask you one question from the day.
Yes, I'm excited. Go for it.
Okay, for sure. How do you manage conflicts or disagreements within a relationship?
Oh, tough question. So I think what is like unfair a little bit, but I'm still gonna answer the question. Our cheat code is my partner and I have known each other since we were 9. So we've been best friends since we were 9. And we've been dating on and off since we were 16. So we kind of grown up together and learned how to argue with each other and how to handle conflict at the different phases of our lives, right? So 21-year-old Melissa is very different than 36-year-old Melissa for sure. But I think something that's important, and I think something that we do really well in our relationship when it comes to conflict, is we address the conflict that is happening in the moment. And I think a lot of times, relationships, and I'm not a relationship guru, but I think a lot of times because we say something like, oh, little cuts, we don't let little cuts build up, because in 5 years, in 10 years, those little cuts will become unbearable, right? So we discuss the problem as it occurs and we don't bring up other grievances, because now is not this conflict right here is about this conflict. And I think that's really what has helped us focus in and discuss when things happen, because I don't want to talk about something that happened 3 months ago. I want to talk about you didn't load the dishwasher today, right? So that's something that I really appreciate that we do. And we had to learn after a long amount of time how to do that and not just let things build up. Because I used to be the queen of passive aggressive. I'm not even gonna lie. I used to be like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it was not cool. It was not cool
Wow.
at all. Right. But 36-year-old Melissa's very calm now. She's
Yeah.
tired. She just want to do like get through the day. So that's, I think, super important.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love it for sure. Because a lot of times it's hard for people to really resolve conflict. I think that's something that we don't discuss enough. And I just thought it was something new. Just wanted to hear your feedback on that from
I
you.
love that question. I love that game. But tell me where to find that game, that deck.
Yes, for sure. It's at my website, scarytoremarry.com. It'll be
Nice.
linked in the description, as
Yeah.
long as in the description with everything else.
Cool.
Uh, Okay, so how can we'll get back to the money now?
Yeah. I'm good, whatever. I'm like free flow.
Awesome, I love it. How can couples set financial boundaries early in a relationship?
Ooh. So I think besides having those conversations, you really want to decide who's going to essentially be handling certain things and when are you going to come together to have those conversations. I'll use myself for example. So my partner and I do not have accounts that are together. And so I essentially pay like the mortgage and the homeowner's insurance, and he pays for everything else. And so we don't need to kind of like put the money together because it's like, okay, I'm going to pay for this, you're going to pay for that. But things that both of us use or things that are important to both of us or things that might have a really big sticker price and we're just like, whoa, like that wasn't expected, we'll come together to have a conversation on how we're going to split that money up or if we're going to do some sort of payment plan. And I think that's a really healthy boundary, right? So I don't, come in and say, hey, give me $200 for this or give me for that. It's just like, that's not really a part of how we navigate money. So we are trying to buy a couch right now.
Mhm.
And we sat down and we're like, okay, well, what should be the budget for this couch because we decide we're going to split the couch 50-50. And so that is a part of our boundaries where I can't just decide, okay, well, we're going to get a $2,000 couch and we're going to split 50-50. That's not how it goes because it's just like, maybe he doesn't have the $1,000 to put towards the couch, or maybe he's like, okay, we can do this, we can work this $1,000. But I think in having those conversations and defining how we use our money together collectively without connecting our accounts is a healthy boundary for us because we still have those open conversations, but we also know what we can and can't do. And we have, because we have a small space, I think also helps with the budget boundaries, is we have a one in, one out. So we have our value spends, we have things that matter to us, and we use our own money for it. But because we're sharing a space and because we have future goals that we want to hit together financially, it's just like, well, you're not going to buy 90 pairs of sneakers this month. Like that's not happening. So, because he's a sneakerhead. So he's
Yeah.
like, okay, he's like, I'm going to buy one pair, but I'm either going to sell or donate or give away another pair. So that same thing for makeup for me. He's just like, oh, you went to Sephora? It's like, well, what are we getting rid of? It's like, oh my goodness. But that really helps with our boundaries because we still get to spend money the way you want, but we have other healthy boundaries in the home that kind of make it like, okay, it's a good conversation to have. Those
Mm.
Sephora conversations were so hard though, because I was like, I wanted to try this. It's like, yeah, you have 95 blushes. One's got to go.
So how did you both agree? How did you both agree to come up with that system? It was just basically just a conversation, or did you view money a certain way and he viewed money a certain way, and then you both kind
Yeah.
of